We're back at the lake. I'm going to try to build on the momentum from the last couple sessions. I'm hoping that playing longer and buying in deeper, now $500, is going to lead to some bigger pots. So let's get into it. So I get things started looking down at ace, king, 10, 8, double suited under the gun. I make it 20. We get 4 callers, so we're going 5 ways to a flop. Flop comes 10, 10, 2 rainbow. When it checks to me, I bet 60. Back to the small blind, he makes it 220. Folds back to me. He's only got about 20 behind. If I'm beat, I'm beat. I just go ahead and push him all in. He, of course, calls, and we're going to a run out. Turn brings a 5 of clubs, giving me a backdoor flush draw. River brings a 9. And before I can turn my hand over, my opponent shows ace 10, 9, 2. So he flopped a boat, hit a higher full house on the river, and he's going to take it down. So in the beginning videos of the vlog, I probably would have just played out this $240 bullet before rebuying, but taking into consideration the recommendations you've given, I decided to rebuy $200. Here I'm in the big blind. I look down at the granddaddy of them all, ace, ace, king, king, double suited. I was asked by a viewer what the best hand in PLO is a couple weeks ago, and if you look on any site, you're going to either see this hand or ace, ace, jack 10 double suited. I personally prefer ace, ace, jack 10 double suited as it has a little bit more playability, but I'm not going to complain getting this hand. I believe this is actually the first time I've ever gotten it double suited. I had it earlier in the vlog rainbow, and I've had it single suited before, but having it double suited is definitely cool. There is a late position raised to 20. I make it 70, and he calls, so we're going heads up to a flop. Flop comes king, 10, 6 rainbow, and normally I'm going to bet this, but the player that called, he's pretty aggressive, and he's going to put me on aces, which obviously I have, but having the kings as backup, I decide to check and hopefully check raise. He doesn't oblige though by checking back, so heads up still to a turn. Turn brings a 5. I can't slow play anymore. I bet 130, and he quickly folds. So unfortunately couldn't get any more value, but happy to take it down. So this is a couple hands after the previous hand. I look down at ace, ace, 10, 8, single suited to the ace on the button. There's an early position open at 20, late position caller. I make it 90. Short stack to my left calls, and the other 2 players call. So we're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes 8, 4, 2 rainbow. Short stack on my left pushes for $60. The original raiser calls. Then the late position player makes it 600. Back to me. I ended up thinking for a little bit, but once I just looked at the SPR, I didn't really have much of a choice. Obviously, almost close to an SPR of 1. I just kind of had to go with it. So I call. And back to the original raiser, he calls as well. So me and the short stack to my left are all in, and the 2 late position players are heads up on the side going to a turn. The turn brings probably the worst card in the deck. It's the 6 of spades. So now obviously 7, 5, and 5, 3 both have me drawing dead. But luckily both the players check back, so maybe it didn't help them after all. Now going to a river. So while the turn brought the worst card in the deck, the river brings the best card in the deck and the ace of diamonds. The 2 late position players both check. They actually have a side pot amongst themselves. And the middle position player shows queen, queen, 6, 5. So he flopped the double gutter, paired his card in the turn, and has a pair of queens. He wins that. The short stack to my left, he turns over his hand. He has 8, 7, 5, 5. So he has the nuts straight. He wins the main pot, which is about $600. And then I turn over my hand and I win the side pot, which is about 1080. So don't get the whole thing, but obviously very happy to win the pretty large side pot. Here look down at ace, queen, 8, 6, single suited to the ace on the button. There's 3 limps, I limp, and both the blinds check. So we're going 6 ways to a flop. Flop comes queen, 6, 4 with 2 diamonds. I bet 25 when it checks to me, and we get 1 caller. So heads up to a turn. Turn brings the king of clubs. When he checks, I go ahead and bet 50. And he folds, so we take it down. Here we look down at queen, 9, 7, 6, double suited in the cutoff. There's an early position raised 20. I call, the button calls, and one of the blinds calls. So we're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes king, 9, 7 with 2 clubs. When it checks to me, I bet 45, and only the button calls. So we're going heads up to a turn. Turn brings a jack of hearts. So now obviously a lot of combos beat me with straights and higher 2 pairs. So I decided to check, and he checks back. So heads up still to a river. River brings a 10, bringing in 2 one-liners, giving me the second nuts. And if he had either, 2 pair or a set, this straight's going to obviously be pretty apparent. So I decided to go small and bet 45 again. He thinks for a bit and calls. So I show my hand. He shows me pocket sevens and mucks, so we take it down. Here I look down at ace 8, 8, 5, single suited to the ace in late position. There's an early position limp. I limp, small blind makes it 30. The limper calls and I call, so we're going 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes 8, 5, 5 rainbow. The original raiser pots it to 95. Other player folds back to me. I push him all in. He has about 30 remaining behind, and he calls, so we're going to a run out heads up. Turn brings a 4. River brings a deuce. He says we have a 5, you're good. I turn over my hand and we are good, so taking it down. Here I look down at king, queen, 10, 7, single suited to the king in late position. Folds to me, I open a 20. We get 2 calls from the cutoff and the button, so we're going 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes jack, 9, 6 with 2 spades. I check. Late position player bets 40. Other player folds and I just call, so we're going heads up to a turn. Turn brings a king of diamonds, giving me the nut straight. I check, decided to try to slow play, go for a check raise, but unfortunately he checks back, so it still heads up to a river. River brings a queen of diamonds, which is obviously a pretty awful card. One of the downsides, of course, of slow playing is if they check back and you get a pretty horrible run out like that, you're in kind of a weird spot. So I check, he bets 50, and as I'm thinking about what to do, I tell him that I played this hand horribly, and I decide to call. And sure enough, he turns over ace, ace, 10 with the nut flush. So he's going to take this down and on to the next. Here I look down at ace, ace, queen, 3, single suited to the queen in the big blind. There's 3 limpers. I make it 20 total, and we get 4 callers. So we're going 5 ways to a flop. Flop comes jack, 8, 3 with 2 clubs. I check. Short stack to my left bets 100. He's got about 70 behind. Folds back to me, and I just put him all in for 170, and he calls. So we're going heads up to a run out. Turn brings a 6 of clubs, river brings an 8, and my opponent turns over his hand pretty confidently. He shows ace, king, 10, 4 with 3 clubs, and he's going to take it down. So here I look down at king, jack, 9, 8, single suited to the king in the big blind. There's a couple limps. Late position player makes 25. I call, and both the limpers call, so we're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes 10, 7, 2 rainbow, and I decide not to slow play. I bet $100, and everyone folds, so we take it down. Here I look down at king, queen, 9, 3, double suited on the button. There's a late position open at 20. I call and one of the blinds calls, so we're going 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes king, 9, 2, rainbow. When it checks to me, I bet 45 and only the original raiser calls, so heads up to a turn. Turn brings a 6. When he checks to me, I bet 100 and he folds, so we take it down. Here I look down at queen, queen, 8, 6, double suited in late position. There's a couple early position limps. I make it 30 and we get 2 callers, so we're going 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes queen, queen, 4. So again, this is 2 sessions in a row where I flop quads, which is pretty cool. Now I just got to try to figure out how to get some value. They both check to me, and of course I got to check back. So still 3 ways to a turn. Turn brings a deuce, and they both check to me, and I just got to check back, hoping that someone bluffs or makes something on the river. So still 3 ways to a river. And river brings a 9, so it doesn't really look like anyone's going to have anything. But the first player to act bets 50. Other player folds. And now I just got to figure out a sizing where I can maybe get a call. I decided to go small and raise it to 130, and he quickly folds. So it looks like he was obviously bluffing there, but happy to get another $50 value. I look down at ace, king, 8, 8, double suited in the cutoff in a straddled pot. There's 1 limper. I make it 50. The button calls and then 2 other callers. So we're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes jack, 8, 6 with 2 spades. When it checks to me, I bet 190. Then the button to my left, he thinks for a second, but he pots it to 770. One of the players folds, and the other player's thinking for a little bit. He has about $500 left. He decides to push his chips all in, and then back to me. Obviously, only one thing for me to do. I push all in. The button to my left, he probably has about 850 total. So we're going 3 ways, all into a run out. Turn brings a 4 of clubs. River brings 7 of spades, so not quite sure if I wanted the spade or not, but my opponents don't look too happy about it, and I turn over my hand, and my opponent to my left, he shows pocket jacks with a queen of spades as a blocker, trying to tell me I got lucky. He didn't show his 4th card, and then the other player mucked, so obviously got lucky there. Pretty fortunate to hit my spade. He did have the one hand that beat me on the flop, and we're scooping a massive pot. I played for another 30 minutes after that massive hand. Didn't really get a ton to play, and I decided to rack up. What's up, guys? Wayne back here with you. So today I was in for 700, out for 2450. So profit of $17.50. It's not my biggest win ever, but biggest win on the vlog. So obviously pretty happy about that. Started out pretty slow. I was in the hole for like $3.50 right away. Lost a couple small pots, and then raised with the ace king 10-8. Obviously got coolered. He had 10 deuce on a 10-10-2 flop, so nothing I could really do there. And then obviously the next biggest hand was that aces hand when I 3-bet ace 10-8. Flop came 8-4-2 rainbow. I don't know, on that one I thought it was kind of close, but I felt like me having the 8 made it a little bit better of a call. Plus the SPR was, you know, kind of low, so I thought I just had to go with it. When the turn brought a 6, I thought I was pretty much dead. I mean, that completed a lot of draws, obviously. The one guy had queen 5-6, so he paired his card, you know, although he didn't have a double gutter on the flop. Don't know what the other guy had, but I was happy to take down the side pot. Played a couple small pots. Definitely misplayed the king queen 10-7 where I flopped a wrap and a flush draw. If I'm gonna check there when my opponent bet, I definitely have to go for the check raise. I kind of just call, let him get there, make a run enough flush. So definitely played that pretty horribly. But then that last big hand there, I raised in a straddle pot with ace king 8-8. Obviously hit middle set with the flush draw. You know, can't really do anything there. You know, I obviously was up against top set, which kind of, you know, that was definitely one of the hands I put him on there, but obviously can't fold. So pretty fortunate I took that one down. I definitely tried playing a little bit, not looser, but I definitely tried balancing, you know, my passive play with being a little bit more aggressive in spots. You know, one hand 10-8 7-6. That's a little wider than I would normally, you know, raise with, but happy to get the win. If you guys enjoyed it, please hit the like and subscribe button. If your viewing experience could have been better, please let me know how down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.